Good morning and welcome to the Senior Hour. I'm Dr. Gene Dorio with my co-host Barbara Cochran on your hometown station KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, bringing information to enhance one's quality of life. And we are sponsored by Comfort Keepers in-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. Today we have with us a life coach, Jessica Hartley, and we want to start the new year off on a lively conversation.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about death.
Perfect.
But you were mentioning before the show issues related to people who might be at the verge and getting to the point where they are facing the reality that death is upon them.
Right. Well, one of the things that I think is important to reflect upon when we are in, beginning a new year and we're thinking about intentions and resolutions and what do we want to do for our lives is to learn from the people that are older and a little bit wiser than us, So even generationally, for me to be able to look to my grandparents or those that are older and wiser and to learn from the lessons that they have to teach and they have to share. And so I think there's actually this study that has been done about the 5 deathbed regrets. And it has been something that I have referred to from time to time again, because it really is something for us to reflect upon and learn from so that we can decide, are we going to stay on that same path and are we going to become that same statistic, or are we going to change what those regrets are because our awareness of them, and so that's what I want to maybe bring to the table right now, because not just for seniors, but really for everyone, because if we can be conscious about the path and the journey of our life while we're living it in the moment, we can take better advantage of how it's going to turn out in the end.
And I kind of don't like the idea, I guess, that we're talking about death and regrets because they seem to be two negatives. But, if we can change on this show and what you bring to us, change it from regrets to something that is more positive.
Right.
Let's go through those 5 regrets that people face or feel they have as they're heading
around.
And turn it around.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's really the point, I think, of the study, is so that we can use that for our own awareness. So here, let me go ahead and pull it up. So the first one in the study says, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
No, I think that's really important because I think it all comes from guilt and the feeling that you haven't done enough. And the question then becomes, who haven't you done enough for? Yourself, your spouse, your family, children, your community?
Yeah, I think it gets hard because as we start living our lives, we start trying to please everyone around us, especially the people we love the most, like our spouse and our children and our friends. And we put a little bit too much stock into what other people think about us rather than actually living our life with more stock in how I am being self-honoring to myself in this moment rather than, trying to just make sure everyone else is happy and you don't hurt everyone else's feelings, and that kind of thing. Because when you do that, then you start to lose yourself in that process. And bit by bit, if you do that year after year, you're going to eventually be someone that you're not. And that's why this is the number one.
That's really
deathbed regret.
But I think that going back to that word guilt, I think people just have this sense that they haven't fulfilled everything, but there have been reasons why they haven't. And why don't we, as we're on this topic, what are those, what are the reasons why? And, I can already see that one of the big things in this country is money. They have shifted their ideals and morals because somebody's dangling money in their face, and sometimes they rather jump for the money as opposed to doing the right thing.
Yeah, and there's always a conflict. It's a little bit hard because I think if there's a promotion right in front of you and you know, you're like, oh, well, yeah, that's an opportunity. Let me take that. That can make my life better. But then it comes with a sacrifice too. And that sacrifice is less time with your family and your friends and your kids. And even for yourself, you know, sometimes I know a few people who work so much that they don't even play in their life. They don't even have time to play, you know, do the things that they love doing just for the sake of play.
We're seeing that more and more often. Parents, the breadwinner, the mom, the dad, they're out there in the workforce, leaving early, coming home late. Hi to your child, and that's it. Never sitting down to a meal, asking how was school today, things like that. That's happening, and I think there's a lot of regret when one gets to that point where life is not fulfilled, but it's because it's too busy.
Yeah. And what you're actually getting into is the second deathbed regret, which is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. You know, because that work that just keeps you in that grind, you know, takes you away from everything else. And like you said, it's in pursuit of financial gain.
And how often do you see through generations that you've seen a hard-working breadwinner in the family, and that breadwinner regrets that they haven't spent enough time with their children, and then though they see their children growing up and doing the same thing as when they become parents. I mean, that's a basis of song and rhyme and things like that here, you know, all over the place, but it continually happens. How do we get out of that cycle? How do we break away from that form?
Oh, it's so hard. You know, because, you know, it's what, especially when you talk about, this is what I've been shown, and now I realize I'm doing the same thing. This is really ingrained in my approach to life, because this is how I was raised, you know, and so to break away from that takes a lot of courage. You know?
Because you've seen it as an example in your own parent. And, you know, we are the example for them. As we parent, we realize that we are doing things because we have seen the one above us, the one we worship, doing something, and we say, oh, we're gonna, you know, this is the way life is.
Right.
But you know, you really have to reflect and look back and say, is it right?
Right.
And how do you find the time? How do you sit back and get the reality? What is it that makes people say, I have to reevaluate where I am?
That's a really great point, because I feel like at any point you can do that. You know, the best point would be before you enter into the workforce in your life, you know, but at any point you can do that. You can sit back and self-evaluate and say, is this really what I want? Is this really being self-honoring? Is this really beneficial for the whole of what's important to me? You know, one of the things that I ask my clients often is, what is life about for you? And it's a big question, because I really want them to consider if they're really living their life in accordance to what it's about for them. You know, and some of the answers I get are, you know, it's about enjoying the moment. It's about having fun. It's about sharing service with others and things like that. And when we start to lose track of why we're living this life, then it becomes sort of mundane. Things start to go wrong in every way. Relationships, things fail, you know, and all of that is really signs from life to tell you, get back on track. Start living in your purpose, in your heart. Try to do the best that you can to be self-honoring in that moment. Yeah.
But, you know, I also see that those who look at just the moment, it's troublesome. As a physician, as I look at a patient, I say, hey, they're doing pretty good right now. But long term, you know, if I also can smell cigarette smoke and alcohol on them, and they're, you know, overweight by a lot, you know, I say, yeah, they're enjoying the moment, but down the line, there's going to be problems. I still, you know, look at, you know, our workforce and say that 80% of those who have chosen their career really dislike their career.
Yeah.
They just don't like what they're doing. And,
Yeah.
maybe it's just trying to get through that grind of people saying, okay, I don't like what I'm doing, but I got to put the hours in so then I can have the money to, let's see, put more hours in.
Yeah. So then what do you do with that money? Well, then it's like you purchase things that are too expensive for you in the first place. And then you get into this cycle of having to keep working to keep up with the things that you've bought. And so that might be a way out, really, is to, instead of buying things above your means, to buy things below your means. So you are not chasing that dollar so much.
And people
and
can't
that's a
dangle it
lifestyle
in front of
change.
you
Yeah.
and say, if you don't add this to your workload, then you might have to look for a new job. Sorry. And then you feel threatened that you have a certain lifestyle that you've attained, but you might have to give that up. And that threat says, work harder, keep going at it, as opposed to taking that step backwards.
Yeah. And when we look at these deathbed regrets, what we see is that the status, the lifestyle, the extravagance, none of that matters. All of that is what takes you into the regret, because it takes you away from the time for yourself, the time for your family, the time for play, and all the other things that are important while you're living this life. And while you have your energy and your gumption and your vitality and, and all of that.
While you were alive.
Yes.
So number 3.
Okay, so number 3 is I wish I had the courage to express my feelings.
Okay, and that's great, but it takes a skill to express feelings, doesn't it? And I think we've learned that guys don't do as well expressing their feelings as women.
Yeah.
Do women have to understand that? They better understand that, because guys will go in one direction and regret what they've done, but still know that they've done the wrong thing. Women will say, let's talk about this. Let's see if we can, put our thoughts together on this and work this out.
Yeah, you're right. I think that there's definitely a social norm where men are conditioned not to express their feelings. Like,
why?
That makes them less masculine, and it threatens their, sense of who they are and their power and their strength and everything. But the interesting thing is, as we mature in life, I think we realize that strength is really in the courage to be able to be authentic and vulnerable, especially when it comes to relationship, because when male or female, when you don't express your feelings and come and even if that means to present an issue or a conflict because of my feelings, then we just avoid these things and we start sweeping them under the rug, and then they become chips on our shoulders, and then they become resentments and all this baggage that we start carrying with us throughout the rest of our lives. And we don't ever have the chance to get rid of it because we've just piled it on so much. And it's all about our willingness to express what's important to us, or how I feel about this, or, and the interesting thing is, in the work that I do, I teach people not to take responsibility for other people's feelings, because I could do something and it might hurt you, but those are separate. What I do has more to do with my own approach to life, my own issues, my own thoughts, my own perceptions. And how it affects you has to do with your own life, your own experiences, your own perceptions. And they're actually separate, even though they might trigger or push or, touch on each other's experience. So
doesn't there have to be an awareness by women, though, about men, especially senior men and senior women? You say, I could do something, and that there are some women that will say, oh yeah, he's off on this path, I could do something, but they don't. But they are not acknowledging that just guys are that way. And after you figure out where this person that is coming from, you realize that they're not that they're going to go in this direction. And sometimes by doing something, you can change the course of the relationship. Get that?
So you're saying that a woman should accept
No,
that
not
a man
always.
is not going to be expressive?
Right. Yeah, because there is a clear-cut difference between guys and girls. From the get-go,
It's
from
true.
from
I
in the
agree with
relationships,
you.
and then
Yeah.
even to when they're seniors. And must women know better how to rein in the guy to make them help them understand the relationship, as opposed to just going, like you mentioned, I could do something. And if you're in a relationship and you don't do something and you think, oh, they have to learn on their own, or they better figure out their feelings. And some guys are just too old.
Absolutely,
like after
yeah.
16 years old, they're too old
Yes.
to really figure that out. And is it the responsibility of women to, harness their knowledge and their feelings and bring the guy back in? Is that?
I really love that you bring that up. That there are strengths that women have and there are strengths that men have, and that's clear. And women are better at nurturing and emotions and things like that. And the goal is for both women and men to come into balance of
Right.
their abilities. So to use, just like a child, if you're raising a child, this child has natural abilities in leadership, but perhaps they're a little bit bossy. So we want to bring up that leadership, but tone down the bossiness, And so it's the same with our masculine and feminine. We want to bring up ourselves into more balance. And I absolutely agree with you. I think that when it comes to emotions, it's the gift that a woman can give to a man to help him to touch more into his emotions in a safe space and teach him through her model and what she can do. But also on the same token, it takes a man that's open to that too, and wanting to grow and wanting to mature and develop that in himself as well. So yeah, I agree.
And then, some of our male listeners are saying, let's sweep that topic under the rug and move on to the next one, because they're going, I don't want to hear about my
feelings.
a little bit hard for them to face on a short term.
That I love to encourage people with is, why are you doing this living? Just to avoid the hard stuff? That's really not the point. The point is to go try to become the best that you can be with the time that you have, because what else are you going to do? Just waste away or just sit back and
look forward to
watch
the Charger
world.
game this weekend. I mean, guys have different focus than women do.
I mean, you could, but I do believe that even men and women both have this innate drive to better themselves, to always
Absolutely.
grow. And that's one of the ways that, be the best that you can be in every moment. That's
And
what I
they're
would
trying
encourage.
I think guys try to do it in a way that is reflected financially, maybe, but not so much emotionally.
Yeah, and,
Jessica, and that's a huge difference.
I love that point, because that's one of the strengths that I believe that men have. They have a little bit more focus and drive to. They're generally speaking, they're better with finances and providing and all of that. And so women have the opportunity to learn from men to step up into their own gifts and talents in that way as well.
So number 4 would be.
Okay, so number 4 is, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends.
Oh, and now that's easier if you're on Facebook and, you have a smartphone. I mean, it's a little bit easier to stay in touch with friends. That's true.
But
And sometimes you don't want to stay in touch with friends, certain friends.
Sometimes you don't?
Don't want to.
Well, I wouldn't call those friends then. Those would be like,
distant friends, and maybe distant relatives too. I don't know.
Yeah. But, it's like making an effort to pick up the phone even, and not just connect on Facebook or to go visit a friend. That's especially something that I think that seniors could really have the opportunity to do, because they have lots of time now, So let's go visit friends. Let's go spend time with as many friends that are still around. And and let me rebuild or reconnect the relationships that I have with them.
I still say women do better on that too. Number 4.
You
Stay
think so?
attention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think they do better.
But
Guys,
do you think that a man would benefit from that?
oh definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I just think guys tend to stay isolated, on the Lakers, and
Yeah.
they're settled in that. They're
Invite a
fine.
friend over to watch the Laker game.
That's cool.
Or
That's
go
pretty good.
golfing.
There you go.
Right? Do you like to golf?
Nope. Don't golf at all. I watch the Chargers.
Okay.
How about number 5?
Number 5 is I wish that I had let myself be happier. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and I think everybody is looking toward being happy. There's a happiness index around the world. And the United States, I wrote about this recently, that we're 18th in the world.
Oh.
And happiness is not bought by money. So,
Yeah,
because we're the
right.
richest country in the world, but yet we're 18th
yes.
and going down.
That's why
they say we are going down
that
further.
make lots of money, and they're still, struggling in relationships and
Yep,
things
yep.
like that. It's like they've got it right in this area, but then they don't got it right in the other areas that are a little bit more important than just the money.
Yeah,
you
in the
know?
long term, I think you live longer when you're happy. That's the
Oh,
bottom
absolutely.
line.
There's a great study on that.
Yeah, there's plenty, and it's self-evident.
Yeah.
I see people who are doing okay, but they're in a setting where they're not doing like living in a mansion, but they're just doing okay.
Yeah.
But they're really happy.
Yep.
And I admire their ability to be able to, not perceive that money has been the most important thing in life.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
the self-satisfaction of knowing that you've gotten to where you are with your family, with your friends, with the community, and you have, you are settled now and saying, I've done the best I can. So,
Well, there's 2 things that I'd like to, just hit on real quick about this happiness one is that there's a study, the Harvard study of adult life, which is really awesome, and they have they're the longest study on adult life, and they studied these men and then eventually women that when they were in their 20s or 18, 16, I'm not sure about the age, and into death and into age and
Whoa,
into
this is great.
old age. Yeah. And one of the things that they found, they didn't know really what they were looking for, but what they found is that the ones that had quality relationships, that were happier, they were healthier, they lived longer lives, and they kept their brain function throughout their old age. So the ones that didn't have quality relationships were unhappy, they were more depressed, they went into some of the things that happen in old age, like Alzheimer's and things like that, in greater percentages. And so it was a really amazing study about how it has such a dramatic impact on our lives. But the other thing that I'd like to just point out quickly is that what this says is, I wish that I had let myself be happier. And I love that word let, because it really touches on that it's in my control. It's not dependent on what happens around me, because there is suffering in the world. We can accept that. There's stuff that goes on. There's these fires, there's, horrible things happening all over on the global, and also sometimes in the family life too. But it's like, if I have the mindset that my own happiness comes from within me, then I'm not going to have my happiness dependent on what happens around me, and so that's a mindset, and it's really an allowing and a cultivating from within.
Jessica Hartley,
Yes.
great information for our seniors for 2019. We appreciate your being on the show. We think we have another guest that will be coming on in just a minute. But if we don't, we'll continue this conversation. But if people do want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
You can call or text me at 661-347-8473, or you can go to my website at jessicahartley.com.
That's 847-8473. That's
661-347.
347-8473.
You got it.
I wrote that down, but, because of my relationships, I couldn't read it correctly.
All right.
Jessica, thanks for being on the show today. We appreciate it. We're going to just take a break on your hometown station, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Your hometown station.
Our news team at KHTS is constantly working to keep you informed. If you want the latest and greatest information on the Santa Clarita Valley, just sign up for the KHTS newsletter. SCV News delivered directly to your email inbox every weekday by 5 p.m. and a special weekend edition on Sundays. All it takes is an email address and you're set. Go to hometownstation.com to register.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Questions about your water bill? SCV Water is available to answer your questions and help you understand your water bill. They can provide the tips and tools you need to use water more efficiently. Visit yourscvwater.com to manage your account and to pay your bill. Their customer service representatives look forward to helping you. That's yourscvwater.com.
Aloha, friends. Go check out Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brew coffee. What makes their coffee special is how their organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. They're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha.
And now for your convenience, a second Honu location at 23502 Lyons Avenue between Peachland and Apple.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Dr. Gene Dorio with my co-host Barbara Cochran on your hometown station KHTS. As you can tell, Barbara is off today, enjoying the new year. But we have with us today Jessica Hartley, and we're going to continue our conversation because we were talking about the 5 death regrets, which is pretty interesting. And I mentioned that it's like the death negative, regrets negative, and we were talking about in the break how we can change that to something else,
more positive,
something more positive, like living regrets I had mentioned. But there are other things as well that we can put a positive twist on this for 2019.
So I think the intention with just looking at them is to use them to make sure if you're headed towards those same regrets, to really self-check. So we can maybe call it the lessons to live a quality life by. the 5 things. Let me
or
just
awareness,
do a
awareness,
yeah.
awareness of these are the things you might regret.
Yeah.
So, don't work so hard.
Change it now.
Yes, try to. But we talked also about having quality relationships, and the Harvard study showed that being happy and having those quality relationships make a huge difference in how people live their life.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they live longer. They have their memories there. Their health is better. So how do we assure that one has a quality relationship?
Well, that is a very complicated question.
It's very complicated.
Yeah, but,
how about for our seniors though? How do, that, boy, I tell you, that really adds to the whole quagmire of, what happens toward as we get older. I mean, we functionally, physically we change.
Yeah.
We have a lot of things that are going on that, people don't talk about, but, tripping and falling, being slower, not being able to drive, having urinary incontinence and general incontinence, things like that, just bother the heck out of seniors. And that adds to, looking at that having a quality relationship, because then the individual is saying, hey, I'm not having any quality of life with all these things going on as I get older, but I want to have some quality of life, but yet still have quality relationship.
Right. And I could really empathize with that because, I have, for the most part, all of my vitality right now. And I can imagine what it will be like to slowly start to lose some of my own capacity and function, and then I have this pain here, or I don't.
Well, let me explain some of this to you, Jessica, as a senior.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I mean, it's just that there are just things, as I mentioned, that go on that, those who are listening and they're in their teens and 20s and 30s and 40s are going, I don't get that. I don't get it. But, as they look around, they're seeing their loved ones, their parents, their aunts and uncles, their friends who are older having these problems. And a lot of those seniors don't speak about it, but they know it's there. So those seniors who know that it's there, they'll sit back and say, well, I want to have that quality relationship. So how to, despite the fact that some of the things in life aren't working correctly, how do we assure or say to our seniors, don't worry about that so much. Let's, just move forward with the important things that we have to do to sustain a quality relationship.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I think it comes all to the individual and into the self-honor again and the integrity of the person, because like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have various forms of suffering, and old age can in a way feel like suffering because there's pain and then you're losing other things and function and everything like that. So it's how you are with that suffering, the state of your mind, the state of your being while you're going through it that actually matters. It's just another form of how you move through life in spite of A, B, or C. It's like, this is happening, but what is my stance? Am I going to be the kind of person that is faced with suffering and says, oh, I've lost who I am. I was defined by that, and now I can't do these things. Or, and then of course that kind of mentality, you'll go into depression. You'll move into like, I can't do anything. Why am I here? You'll just end up watching TV. Right. And so,
isn't it though important then for all of us to be mindful of those individuals who are having physical and even mental limitations, to say, okay, I acknowledge you're aging, but I still want you to have quality of life and a quality relationship. So yes, let's talk about that, but we can still have common interests, common goals, common things that, we can do together to allow us to have that quality relationship. So maybe having that personal acknowledgement of the other person, of that senior, whether it be a spouse, a friend, an acquaintance, somebody at the senior center, somebody at church, acknowledging, they got some limitations. They're using a cane now. Or I know they're using diapers. I can hear it rubbing. Things like that where they're saying, yeah, this is happening now for them, and they're having to face that. But let's see if we can support them in all their efforts of still having quality of life.
Right. Yep. And so there's two things that I want to, add to that is that, so you can either choose to go into like this state of nothing's working, I'm losing everything, and now I just feel sad and depressed about it. Or you can do the very best from where you're at with what you've got, at every moment, and choose, everything's about perception. So we can choose to see it as something that is beautiful rather than something that's debilitating, going into old age.
Incontinence is not beautiful. I mean, somebody at home is now saying that, I know. Yes, but these are just facts of aging.
Well, yeah, and it's like there are limitations, right? And so we become, when we're born into the world, we're very dependent, and then we have our independence, and then we start to get dependent again, on.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that whole model of you're born, you crawl, you walk, you run, and then you slow down, you walk, and you crawl, and you're in a wheelchair, and then you're in a hospital bed. Boo.
Yeah. So we already know that that's going to happen. So my point is to make the very best of it. If you're in the wheelchair, if you've got the incontinence, make the very best of it. If you can, make jokes about it. Bring lightness to it. Don't let it be this heavy or this dark thing, because it's all about your perception of it.
Because it gets to be a psychological burden, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
But still, people get depressed over it. And it is a psychological burden. So isn't it, for me as a doctor, I see that happening. And I try to say, you can still, you're going to the bathroom every 3 hours, we'll set your smartphone up so your GPS, so where every bathroom is, so it won't stop you from going to a concert. And things like that. And they do.
Or wear the diaper proudly.
Yeah, why not?
A baby does.
Well, yeah, okay. I'll take that. But it is perception, and it's something that cannot be ignored, right? And it's just something that I think because people are dealing with it, we have to acknowledge that to bring them up to a level where they think they can survive through that and get their quality back.
Like even a baby who is dependent has a purpose. They are bringing so much joy to the people around them. I mean, whenever you're around a child and the baby even, and it smiles at you, I mean, it just warms the hearts of everyone around them. You see adults going into this like baby talk, and they start doing all these things. It brings back this joy, and it spreads this. There's a beautiful purpose that even a child in its dependent state still has, and there's purpose that our seniors and our grandparents and everyone else still has as well. And I know that psychologically, one of those things is the purpose of our seniors is to imprint and give wisdom and to leave a legacy, and they're our greatest teachers that we can learn from. Even if you've made mistakes in your life, you can teach about the mistakes. If you got it right, you can teach about what you got right. And to make time to sit with your grandchildren, I think at that stage of your life will give you a lot of purpose rather than just, going through the same routine every day. Go outside and go into nature, be in the environment of the fresh air. And if that means you're walking or if you're on a wheelchair, whatever it is, just go outside. Do a small garden, keep bringing, some growth and some life, knit a blanket for your grandchild or, whatever it is. You still have love to give. You still have purpose, and it's in that perception about me making the best of it, in this new state of more and more dependence that matters.
don't you think, Jessica, we alluded to this earlier in the program about how guys have more problems than girls in this whole sequence of events? Guys don't acknowledge their deficiencies and their aging as well as women do, and they don't cope as well because of that. So how do we yank them into a mode where they're going, yeah, I understand this. Yes, I will get purpose. I can find that. I do have it. Please.
Men are really good at getting things done, right? Mm-hmm. Focused, they're determined.
Mm-hmm. Solving.
Yes, solving problem. Mm-hmm. So look at this as a problem and create your own action steps of what you're going to do to solve this problem and get things back on track.
Get them engaged.
And use your natural ability to and your determination to get something done, and your strength and your power of will, to apply that towards spending time with the grandchildren or the loved ones or the friend or whatever it is. And use that, because that is a gift too. And that's something that typically, and generally speaking, of course, women aren't as good at. And so there's, these plus, these and minuses that we can both learn from each other and benefit from each other.
Yeah, solving problems is great. And I think, having purpose, but igniting the interest in doing these things is difficult. I do believe also there are seniors who are listening to this show, senior guys, and as a senior guy, I'm saying, friends, my buddies out there who are sitting and understanding what we're saying but can't get motivated. Well, maybe, you need to go to church and see friends there. You need to go to the senior center, make friends there. You need to volunteer somewhere. You need to do things that are worthy, that will take the wisdom that you have and be able to help other people. And, we always feel that, we've helped someone across the street. We've opened a door from them. And for some people, they hold on to that the whole day because they have done something good for someone else. Yeah. Now, if you do that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, in helping people, going to a school and reading to children, being a crossing guard, even helping at Walmart. I mean, these are things that make you feel good.
Yeah, sharing a smile even,
Absolutely.
And you can share that love inside of you in the simplest of ways, and that can have the biggest impact on someone else.
Yeah. Now, we're touching on a lot of important aspects of 2019 that I think our seniors need to hear in this community and throughout. It's important, Jessica, that senior men and women especially understand that, in the early part of life, it sure was easy. But as we head toward the later part of life, it gets pretty difficult. And, it still can be fun. It still can be a happy time for all of us.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a little break in this great conversation, which, we had the 2 negatives in the beginning, but now I think we're hitting on 2 positives on the Senior Hour on your hometown station, KHTS.
Life's not meant to feel complacent. It's meant to make you feel alive. The youth ministry at the Church on the Way Santa Clarita believes that students can belong to the group where we will help them believe they have a purpose in Christ and become all that He has created them to be. We want to see God's power come alive in our generation. We love meeting new people, so come hang out with us. Doors open at 6 p.m. and service starts at 7 every Wednesday night. For more information about the Church on the Way Santa Clarita, including service times and what's happening through the end of the year, visit tcotwsc.org.
If you're tired of your nail polish chipping a day or 2 after an expensive manicure, then you'll love the gel nail polish manicure now offered by Ann. Ann is a licensed manicurist serving the Santa Clarita Valley in Canyon Country for over 15 years. And now she's offering the gel manicure that lasts without chipping for up to 2 weeks. Log on to hometownstation.com for details on how to get an amazing deal on gel nails by Ann on Restaurant Row, or call Ann at 250-8340.
Comfort Keepers provides your loved one with loving in-home care.
Miles McNamara, certified senior advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in-home care.
Our caregivers can help you in your own home, enhancing independence, creating safety and comfort. Our Comfort Keepers provide companionship, meal preparation, medication reminders, assistance with personal care, and even transportation to doctor's appointments. If someone you love can use a helping hand at home, visit comfortkeepers.com.
Or call 287-4200.
There's a classic diner in town that combines old-fashioned dining with a hip 21st century menu. They call it trendy nostalgia. They call it Kathy's Deli. Kathy's Deli is a classic diner, homemade jams, freshly baked breads, and even unique flavored coffee creamers made on site. Experience the fresh, new, yet old-fashioned taste of your local hometown diner. Serving traditional and unique breakfast and lunch delights every day from 7 to 3. Kathy's Deli on Lyons Avenue off Wayman Court. Hey there, it's Tori with your Hometown Station weather. Sunny and windy today with a high of 60 degrees. Clear tonight, but chilly with a low of 38. Sunny and 65 both Thursday and Friday. For anything and everything Santa Clarita Valley related, go to hometownstation.com or find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at KHTS Radio.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour on your hometown station, KHTS. We're talking with Jessica Hartley, who in this discussion, this great discussion about seniors and, their looks and attitudes of what they are facing in 2019, I think the cloud has risen a little bit so that, those listeners who are out there are going, hey, this is kind of neat and it's kind of interesting and it's something that maybe they didn't understand, but they're starting to better understand it now. Mm-hmm. Any words of wisdom from you right now as we get to the end of the show that you can help those, especially the guys out there who are listening, to get them up, to start them moving, take that first step in the right direction?
Yes. It really is all about what you choose to do with what you have right now. Mm-hmm. And you have the choice on the direction of your life. That's absolutely in your domain. You have total control over that, and that's where you should take control. Choose to be the author of your thoughts. Your thoughts they just come automatically unless you choose to direct them. So you can stop a thought if it doesn't serve you, and you can change it. And you can change it into something that feels better. And that is a really easy tool to just say, okay, this is the thought I'm thinking. Does it serve me? No. Let me just think of a thought that feels better. And as you start to do that more and more, you'll start to feel better, and then you'll start to move more, and then you'll start to be more on purpose and living your life with more gumption from where you are with what you have, with the cards that you're dealt right now, And the thing is, we're all going to be in that same boat. I'm going to be there one day. You're going to be there one day.
I am there.
Yeah. And, and it's like, we're all going to go through this. So it's not like it's impossible
or
to
people
do.
aren't understanding what you're going through either. People do. They just don't talk about it, and there are people that just themselves won't talk about it. And
it's up to you whether or not you're going to enjoy the last 10, 20 years of your life or not. That's right.
And it is definitely a direction, but I still find that, sometimes in life it's one thing that lifts our spirits, one little thing that helps us move through the day and get us to the next day, one little thing that, says, let's do something, an idea, a thought, something they hear on the radio,
purpose,
something they see on television, something that says, this is a new goal for me.
Take action towards that one thing when you find it.
So we want to try to get our listeners to understand that, especially the guys, but all our seniors who listen to our show, that let's move forward in 2019. Let's
Yeah.
take that extra step. Let's enjoy life a little bit. Let's get the quality of life back in. And there are so many problems that we have, not big ones, but not little ones either, that need solving. And a lot of you guys can solve some of these problems.
Yes.
All you have to do is read our local newspaper, get on some of the blogs, go to city council meetings, be involved, get connected, and that will change your life. You'll enjoy life a lot better by coming out and solving some of the problems that we have.
Right. Yes. Do the best from where you're at with what you've got.
Wow, Jessica, what a great conversation for our seniors in this community to start
And
off.
everybody, but
and
yes.
everybody, and for our seniors especially, they're trying to make it through life, trying to find that quality, and by having that quality that they need to have good relationships, I think is really important, and I think you have brought that to them today on our show. So once again, your phone number, I have it written down correctly here. It is 661 347-8473.
That's right.
Jessica Hartley, obviously having the ability to communicate and express and give your wisdom has been helpful to the people in this community.
Thank you. Thank you. And I do have my own show that is actually today at 2 o'clock.
Great,
so
great.
You can
So
also tune in then.
looking forward to hearing about that, but I'm not sure how if seniors will be able to stay awake for that. They'll probably be off to the bathroom or whatever.
Okay.
But thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone. We are sponsored by Comfort Keepers In-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.